when Nigerians are actually carrying out an assessment of the 1 year in office of the president, and that's President Muhammad Buhari. What exactly is assessment of the president 365 days in office?
My assessment is very positive. I read his own assessment, his self-assessment, if you like, in the speech that he made a couple of days ago. And I'd agree very strongly with that in those areas that he's been focused on, in fighting corruption, in tackling insecurity, in particular in the northeast with Boko Haram, and in diversifying the economy. I think he's made some really significant progress. I think Nigerians are very patient people. I think Nigerians understand the difficulties which the government is facing. And I think they're giving him a lot of credit for the progress that has been made. But I think it's also fair to say that there's a long way to go, and President Buhari himself would agree with that. There's still some further progress to be made in the defeat of Boko Haram. We're seeing other tensions elsewhere in the country, including obviously in the Delta most recently. And on the anti-corruption front, there's still some way to go. But the British government and the UK and I as the High Commissioner here are fully behind him. We're supporting him in all of these areas, and we wish him well. We do think he's making a very good, he has made a very good start, and we're here to help him.
When you talk about, sorry, Julia, when you talk about the help that you're willing and ready to offer the president, one of those issues as regards corruption is that many of these looted funds and stolen assets are stashed in the UK. Just recently, the Prime Minister, David Cameron, said that Nigeria and Afghanistan are two most fantastically corrupt countries. And the president, in reaction, said, well, we understand that. But what we need is your cooperation in actually returning these looted funds. What are you doing in that regard?
Yeah, well, it's a good point. I was in London when the Prime Minister made that comment, albeit a comment that was off the record, as you appreciate. And I was in London when the President arrived, and I watched the President deal with that, and I thought he dealt with it very well. He did say that. He said, I'm not demanding an apology from the British Prime Minister, but we do want the return of looted assets. And we're working very closely with the Nigerian government in order to help the return and ensure that that process is accelerated. It's a process which, as you will appreciate, has legal implications. That sometimes, much to the frustration of the Nigerian authorities, and I have to say sometimes the British authorities, does mean that the return of assets can be slower than people would like. But there is no question that the British government does not wish to hold on to this money, that this money belongs to the Nigerian people, and that we're working very hard with the Nigerian government to ensure that it is returned as quickly as we can do that. So yes, we appreciate that this is a key issue, but it's an issue where we're working and cooperating very closely with the government.
Your Excellency, historically, the United Kingdom is the colonial master of Nigeria, and many Nigerians are disturbed that despite the strong relationship between these two countries, what Nigerians go through in getting visa for entry into the UK, rather than being sought to continue to get more problematic for Nigerians. Why is it difficult for Nigeria to be removed from the list of or be added to visa-free countries?
You described the UK as the colonial master. I think that's a rather old-fashioned term. It's certainly not one that I ever use. I like to think of the UK and Nigeria as partners working together in a whole range of areas. So first of all, I'd like to just challenge that description. The issue of visas is an important one. The issue of Nigerians in the UK is an important one. The first point I'd like to make is that Nigerians are very welcome in the UK. Nigerians make a huge contribution to the UK, culturally, politically. There are 5 British MPs of Nigerian descent. In football, which everybody's mad about, including me, there are over 18 Nigerian players in the Premier League playing for some of the top clubs in the UK and England. There is no doubt that there's a massive contribution, and we appreciate that, and we welcome it, and we encourage it. The issue then, when it comes to visas, is one around those people, the few Nigerians, the small minority, who overstay the conditions of their visa, who are there for longer than the visa permits. convince them to be there, and as such are breaking British rules, breaking the rules, the immigration rules. And I think it's fair to say that anybody who breaks the rules cannot just sort of get off scot-free. If I broke a rule or a law in Nigeria, then you would expect me to be punished, or any British national who has broken any rule in the UK. Nigerians are not being targeted in the UK. These are rules which apply to
I'm
apply to
actually
everybody.
talking about those who want to go to the United Kingdom for one thing
Well,
or
you know, the
the other.
vast majority, you're surmising that a large number of people are refused visas. That's not the case, okay? The vast majority of people who apply for visas get the visa. The visa application system has been made easier. If you go online and search UK visas, you will find there is an online system now which is much easier than it was before. It's quick. If you provide all the documentation, if it's all there, and it is legitimate, and you can demonstrate that you have the funds required, then you will get a visa. You will get a visa in pretty quick time. So those people who have been refused a visa are refused a visa for good reason, and they are for reasons which are not specifically targeted against Nigerians.
All right, yes, because this is going to be a short one, let's permit you, our listeners, to be a part of this. Questions are welcome to the High Commissioner, the British High Commissioner here in Nigeria, His Excellency, Mr. Paul Arkwright. Yes, the numbers remain 0809 868734. You can also try 090 9146 9670, and the hashtag, the Twitter handle for this program is
At Roxy FM, that's our Twitter handle. But don't forget the Twitter handle of the British High Commissioner is at Paul T. Arkwright. At Paul T. Arkwright. So you can actually tweet at the British High Commissioner and also at Roxy FM, and they will definitely read out your tweets. I think we have someone on the line. Hello.
hello.
Hello, good evening.
Hello,
Yes,
yeah,
good
good
evening.
evening. We can hear you.
Good evening.
Good evening, we can
we
hear
can
you.
hear you.
What's your name?
Yes, good evening. It's nice to talk to you.
We can hear you.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Yes,
Well, first of all, you're right. There is a referendum coming up. It's coming up very soon, on the 23rd of June, in fact. We are in a system of purdah. I don't know if you have that here, but anyway, purdah means that any government official is not allowed to make comments on the referendum. What I would say is that there is a vote. The people of the United Kingdom will decide in that vote whether or not we will stay in the UK. Stay in the EU or leave the EU. Obviously, if we stay in the EU, then the current arrangements will apply. If the decision is taken that we leave the EU, we will have to look at what impact that will have. I think it's too early for me to say or to speculate. One thing I would say is that the UK, and this is a fact, the UK is not part of the Schengen Agreement in the European Union, and so different visa rules apply to us as they do in the Schengen area.
All right, let's take one more call.
hello. Do we have another caller? Do we have someone? Hello. All right, maybe we check.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Thank you.
Yes, you are,
Yep.
please.
All right, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for the question. Yes, the statement that was made that you referred to at the beginning, and the reason, of course, that President Buhari was in London, was that the British Prime Minister had set out a whole range of actions in the international area to fight corruption through international action and coordinated international action. So the very fact that there was a summit to deal with that was a British initiative. One of the things, to address your question directly, one of the things that my Prime Minister has decided to do and agreed to do in the UK is set up a register of what is called beneficial ownership. In other words, revealing who owns what in the United Kingdom. That includes foreign people, that includes Nigerians, it includes other nationalities as well. When you can see who owns what in the UK, there is transparency. When there is transparency, there is much less opportunity for corruption. I'm not saying that the United Kingdom is a perfect country in any way, and I'm a representative of that country, and I'm proud of that country. We're not saying that it's perfect. What we are saying is that with international cooperation and through a British lead, we can actually tackle some of these issues which you've been addressing. And that includes those issues which you've raised with particular reference to Nigeria. And I would repeat, on the funds, we are doing what we can to return those just as quickly as we can.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Let's quickly check if we have a tweet for you. Mr. Paul Arkwright, Your Excellency, let me quickly ask you this. One major issue now, which is almost crippled our economy, is the resurgence of Niger Delta militants
Yep.
in the South region. As of today, we produce just about 900,000 barrels per day, and that